Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. We are going to talk a little bit more about our new coach, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and his assistant, which is also very prevalent right now and in the news, Erling Moe. And today, joining us is Egil Sande from NRK, the state broadcaster in Norway. And Egil, you were in Istanbul for the last game on, what was it, Sunday against. I don't even remember who we played against Samsunspor, the 0-0 draw, the first game where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his assistant Erling Moe were in the stands, not yet in charge, and you were also present at the press conference, the presentation for the coach. Um, how was your experience in Istanbul and at the match? How did you enjoy your time there?
Hello, thanks for having me. I had a great time in Istanbul. The people were so welcoming, and like I told my colleagues this morning, I have never met a press officer that has been more helpful. The Beşiktaş press officer, he really was helping us out, and we also got to speak with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in Norwegian. That was very a big bonus for us. And had a great experience at the game. It was 0-0 and maybe a little bit boring game, but the atmosphere was great. So it was a real nice working trip to Istanbul.
Believe it or not, it was probably the best game we've played in a couple of months. So I think Ole and Erling's presence definitely played a part in that, and the players were looking to make an impression. In particular, Ernest Mucci, I thought when he came on last 30 minutes, that was probably the best 30 minutes I've seen him play. So I think the players are excited, and I'm hearing from you as well that there's a lot of interest and excitement in Norway for this move because of course Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a massive name in Norwegian football. Can you frame that a little bit for us? How big of a name is he, and how much of an impact is it having in the day-to-day media in Norway?
Yeah, this is big news in Norway. I think still it's only Erling Haaland who's maybe a bigger star than Ole Gunnar. He's still it's very popular to we track our articles online, and he is one of the names that always gets lots of readers, so the interest is very high. He has been a player and manager for so long that he's maybe one of Norway's most famous persons in the world. So when he got the job and was announced to go to Beşiktaş, we booked a flight almost immediately, and this was a news that we really prioritized in our newsroom. And yes, it's been a big story in almost every newspaper and TV channel. I won't be surprised if Beşiktaş now will be a regular topic in Norwegian news for the coming months and hopefully years for Beşiktaş fans.
Well, hopefully, some of those Norwegian football fans will find their way to the Black Eagles podcast, so they can keep up on all the latest on Beşiktaş, of course. But let's talk a little bit more about the press conference. You guys from the national broadcaster, you were allowed to ask a couple of questions, I think, to Ole. Did he have anything interesting to say, and what type of questions did you ask?
Well, actually, we didn't get any questions at the press conference, but the Beşiktaş press officer, he arranged so we could meet with Ole Gunnar and talk in Norwegian after the press conference. And we got 10 minutes with him in Norwegian, so very interesting. He told us about why he chose the job, what kind of players he would like to bring in, what his thoughts were on Istanbul. And it was an interesting talk with Ole Gunnar, and I could tell that he meant what he said. He thinks this is a very exciting project. He sees potential. He thinks it's possible to accomplish something, and it was nice of him to give us 10 minutes in a hectic schedule.
And yeah, that's one of those things I think I told you off air about my Norwegian friend who supports Manchester United. The thing he told me was this guy was without a job for 3 years, waiting and supposedly turning down lots of offers, and now he takes a job in Turkey where they fire a coach every couple of months. Uh, yeah, that is, I mean, to the outside world, and also honestly as a Beşiktaş fan, that has been a little bit our fate the last 2 years, especially. Coaches have not lasted very long, and with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer waiting so long until after the Manchester United job to take on a new project, what do you think convinced him that Beşiktaş was the right choice? Because definitely not the easiest job. Very similar to Manchester United, I think, when he first took over there. The big difference is he was a big legend at Manchester United, and at Beşiktaş here, he's not coming in with the same credit at the start. What do you think convinced him, and what did he? I mean, what did he tell you? I guess.
That's interesting because our channel NRK, we actually did a big interview with Ole Gunnar before Christmas when he was unemployed, and he told us that for him to take a new job now, it would have to be something special, a place where he could develop something and have the time to develop something. So without being disrespectful, Beşiktaş has not been the place where you're given a lot of time as a manager, so it was really surprising. But we asked him about this when we spoke to him in Istanbul on Sunday. He told us that he had a lot of talks with the Beşiktaş president, and he really convinced him that this was a place he could develop his ideas, and he would be given more patience than maybe other managers in Beşiktaş have had. So I think the talks with the president was really deciding for him. And Ole Gunnar has always been a person with great confidence, and he now has his best team around him. Him, Erling Moe, and Richard Hartis, they were a huge success in Molde. They work together well, and when they could bring those two along with him, I think he's very confident that he will succeed.
Yeah, there were already strong rumors in the summer that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was one of the front runners for the job. I think right around the time that the news broke that Giovanni van Bronckhorst was one of the main candidates, I think it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Gio, and I'm not sure how it went. I am under the impression that at the time he turned it down, and then Beşiktaş decided to go with Gio van Bronckhorst instead. Did he make any reference whatsoever to previous negotiations with the club, maybe under the previous management?
He didn't, but he said in general that he had lots of offers, but was waiting for the right timing. And I think after speaking with the president this time, he got the sort of feeling that now is the time. Now we can do this in our way, and that convinced him. But in Norway, we have a national team with big stars like Erling Haaland and Martin Ødegaard. And the coach for Norway's contract expires on the summer of 26. So everybody thought he was waiting for that job, but so it was surprising that he chose a club job right now. But like he told us, this is a fairy tale. He has heard a lot about both the club and the city of Istanbul, and he just couldn't say no. So I think he surprised himself as well. But in life, things can happen very quickly.
Yeah, he mentioned his youth friend Egil Sande, who played a season at Beşiktaş, and he also mentioned his former teammate at Manchester United, Ronny Johnson, who played for Beşiktaş actually before he went to United. Do you think those conversations perhaps had a big impact on his decision?
Yeah, and they told me that he had spoken a lot with Martin Linnes, who has played in Turkey for many years, and had only great things to say about living in Istanbul. So I think he wanted a fairy tale in a new part of Europe that he hadn't been living in before, and yeah, it's something about Turkey and the club and the city that really was appealing for him.
Yeah. I watched a couple of interviews with him, and he was talking about his time at Cardiff and how he felt like that was a wrong decision in his career, mainly probably because I think Cardiff at the time were don't remember if they won the championship or in the Premier League. I think the Premier League.
I
Uh,
guess.
and I assume relegation, dogfight. That's not something that every coach is cut out for. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, of course, at his experience with Molde was turning that into one of the big clubs in Norway. Won his, if I'm not mistaken, the first ever Eliteserien title with Molde.
Correct.
Yeah, and he and of course Erling Moe afterwards subsequently put that club on the map, and now you see a very reshuffled landscape in Norwegian football. I have the impression because when I think of Norwegian football, I think when a lot of people think of Norwegian football, still to this day, I think a lot of people think about Rosenborg because they were dominant for so many years. We did a preview recently with your colleague Adrian Rikvolsen, and we spoke about this a little bit already. But yeah, the landscape has completely changed now with Bodo Glimt and their project with Kjetil Knudsen at the helm of it, and then of course Molde's influence. So that's a club playing for the championship. Then of course he had Manchester United. So it's a very different brand of football. Do you think that that perhaps played also a big part why I assume he turned down offers from the Premier League because I cannot imagine that a coach who managed to finish in second and third place with Manchester United in the post Sir Alex Ferguson era did not get any offers from other Premier League clubs.
I think so, and I think that if I don't remember wrong, has said before that his kind of coaching style and playing style is a better fit for a team that wants to win and will have something to fight about, like an attacking team. So he at Cardiff, it didn't suit him. He brought in the wrong players. He had a crazy owner that he didn't work well with, Vincent Tan, who is a very well-known character. So I think that Beşiktaş, who has ambition to be an offensive playing great club, suits him better. The squad he had in Manchester United, if you compare it to today's squad, I think today's squad should be much better, but he managed to bring a quite mediocre squad to reasonably good performances in the Premier League. So I think he sees potential in his playing style being brought into a club with offensive ambitions. Yes.
And that's a big part for Beşiktaş fans over the last couple of years. One of the things that has bothered fans is that the club seemingly kept going for more pragmatic orientated coaches. Of course, there was Fernando Santos, who is very well known for his pragmatic playing style. But also Giovanni Van Bronckhorst does not have the reputation of playing the most offensive football, although I have to say, in the beginning of the season, he had us playing some fantastic offensive football. Valerian Ismail is somebody else that we had in recent years who was very much a pragmatist, somebody who really gave the ball to the opponent, waited for counter-attacking opportunities. I know there's definitely been a lot of that for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at United as well, in particular in the away matches against Manchester City and Liverpool and so on. He did not shy away from playing counter-attacking football, but got good results with it. Also worth pointing out, 9 matches against Pep Guardiola, 4 wins. That's not something a lot of coaches can say. But at home, I watched his recent interview with his former teammate Gary Neville and Roy Keane on the overlap. And there he mentioned that at home he always felt like this is Manchester United. We need to play with our chests out and play offensive football, even against Liverpool and against Manchester City, which ultimately that stretch of games ended up costing him his job at Manchester United because he had some heavy defeats. Maybe he was a little bit naive there. But one of the big worries for Beşiktaş fans whenever we get introduced to a new potential coach is this going to be somebody who can bring joy back to the stadium, who can let us finally, when we watch Beşiktaş, maybe we won't win every game, but we want to see attacking offensive football. We want to have fun watching the team again. Do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is somebody who can bring that enthusiasm back and will have the team playing offensive football?
Yeah, I think so because his reputation right now is for being maybe not so attacking, but I think that's a bit unfair because with Molde he created a team that was playing fluently and was nice to watch, created a lot of chances, was offensive minded all season and won this title several times. But in Cardiff, he was at the defensive bottom team that had to defend. With Manchester United, he often chose counter-attacking football because that was the only way to win. He went to Paris and played PSG and won an away match with counter-attacking football there. So he's adjustable, but his main philosophy is attacking. So if he gets what he wants and gets the right players in, I think Beşiktaş fans have a lot to look forward to. But like I saw myself against Samsunspor, the team isn't at the best place right now. I think you need a few new players, and so I've been told by your Turkish colleagues. So it will take time. It's not something that will happen overnight. But if it gets a few months, gets to sign a few players, I think you have a fun time ahead.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier as well that he talked a little bit about potential players, or at least he was asked about it. Did he lift the curtain a little bit about maybe some players he would be interested in, or what profile of player he would be interested in?
Yeah, he didn't mention any names, of course, but I asked him if it's likely that he will bring in some Norwegian players, and he didn't rule it out. He said he likes the Nordic mentality, like Jonas Svensson, hardworking professional, no problem type of guy. Those kind of players seems to be people he wants to build a team around. He has nothing. He strongly dislikes lazy players, players that put themselves ahead of the team. Those won't stand a chance in Beşiktaş under Solskjaer. So it will be interesting to see who he brings in, and they didn't rule out any Norwegians. So I know that Erling Moe as well has a few players in Norway he really likes. So it will be interesting to see if anyone makes their way to Turkey.
Any players that you can that you know for a fact he really likes that could potentially be on the radar?
Yeah, I will be surprised if Molde's Emil Breivik isn't on the radar. He has been in Norway for quite a few years. He was very interested when Galatasaray was interested, but it didn't happen. He is good enough to play in the bigger leagues, but has struggled after the injury this season. So I think Molde will be tempted to sell him if the price is right, and then I think Beşiktaş could do a bargain. But the Eliteserien in Norway has really been given a lift a few last years, so it's quite a lot of players that is really good now. Bodø/Glimt, Patrick Berg, maybe one of the best midfielders in Norway ever. So it's a few people. I know they have a great knowledge of all the players in Norway. It's good enough, but the price level has also been higher in Norway the last year, so it won't be so cheap like it maybe would have been for a few years ago. So it's let's wait and see.
Yeah, let's wait and see indeed. So let's talk a little bit more about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's coaching career, and I want to talk about Erling Moe later as well. But so he started his coaching career at Molde, led them to their first Eliteserien title ever. The season after, he won the double. What brand of football did he have that team playing? How did he build his team? What was it focused mainly on older players, young, hungry, energetic players? And yeah, what philosophy of football was he did he have?
Um, are you talking about Erling Moe or Solskjaer right now?
Initially, Solskjaer his first stint with Molde, and then maybe his second stint as well until 2019.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he came in and was he soon it was easy to see that he was attacking minded, like I told you. But he also made a shift in the way the club bought players. He now identified maybe the biggest talents around 20, 21 years in other Norwegian clubs, and got the money to buy them. And he built a strong team with buying players that fit his system. So he has a big team around him. He has scouts that he trusts. So it will be interesting to see if he brings any of them to Beşiktaş. But his first years at Molde were defined maybe by two things: attacking-minded football and new, young, and hungry players.
Yeah, and how would you describe his system?
It's adaptable, I would say. He often plays with a mix of 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, also 4-4-2. So he's not a one system kind of guy, but he adapts and adjusts it due to the competition. So, but the most important for Solskjaer is that he wants to attack when possible, but if the team's chances of winning are better by laying low and putting everything on the counterattacks, he will do so. He doesn't care about criticism if that's the right thing for the team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Beşiktaş sometimes will play with high pressure, high intensity, and offensive-minded football, and sometimes laying low and going for a counterattack.
Yeah, that makes sense, of course. And what about his time at Manchester United? Because, of course, initially he started off fantastic. I think he had 10 wins in his first 12 games in charge after taking over from another coach in Turkey right now, Jose Mourinho. It was a very difficult task for him. He was initially the caretaker, then he became the permanent coach. What did he do really well at Manchester United? What made him, I think, the longest lasting coach since Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, and ultimately what caused his downfall?
I think he has described it by I gave the players more freedom. He came in after Mourinho was very strict about how he wanted things, and he trusted the players, brought a smile back, and he told NRK in the interview before Christmas that he made certain adjustment that was important for him. He wanted to talk to every player in the squad every day. He arranged the breakfast and the meals should be eaten together every time at the same table. He wanted to build a team spirit, and maybe his biggest strengths is that the people qualities. He's very good at making people like him. The players, they like him. He's a good guy with great values, so it's easy to like him. And when you're at the biggest clubs in the world, the players are often good enough. It's just about making them tick, making them comfortable. And I think that's why you saw the big winning streak of 10 games in the first 12 at United. They enjoyed football again. So let's hope Beşiktaş players also will get that experience.
Yeah, definitely something our team needs, I think, right now, because that's the impression I have, that a lot of these players are not enjoying their football at the moment and are afraid to make mistakes. So that sounds like something that Solskjaer has experience with in turning around, and hopefully he can do that. And then, you mentioned his transfer politics at Molde, and those obviously worked out great for him. At Cardiff, you also said that he made some wrong transfers. At Manchester United, do you think that that was part of the issue? Maybe bad transfers, bringing back Cristiano Ronaldo, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think so. He told us in the interview that he his assistant Kieran McKenna actually warned him about signing Ronaldo, but the temptation was too high. They went for it, and he said that he thinks everyone now agrees that it was a mistake. But he also didn't get he didn't get the trust of the club. Sometimes he wanted to bring in Erling Haaland at a young age, but was denied. That's a small mistake when you look at it today.
Yeah, yeah.
So it wasn't only his fault, but in Cardiff he was open about he didn't have the network that was necessary to make the good decisions. He brought in some Norwegian players that wasn't good enough. That was a mistake. But now in Beşiktaş, I'm sure he has learned. He will only bring in players from Norway if they are good enough, and they will trust the scouts and the network otherwise.
Yeah, do you have another Erling Haaland running around there somewhere that he can bring in?
Uh, I don't think we have anyone similar now, but actually Norway has taken huge steps in talent development. So there's a lot of good players from Norway that I think will have good careers. So when he was at Cardiff, Norwegian football was in a bad place, and it wasn't a league that you should bring players to the Premier League from. But now I think many players from Norway will have great careers.
And do you think that the surrounding countries, the Scandinavian region in general, Sweden, Denmark, do you think those are going to be markets that they have a good scope on as well, and that where they know the hidden gems?
I know for a fact that Erling Moe has been scouting Denmark himself for a few years. Molde has brought in many good Danish players. So Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are almost the same market. The leagues know each other well. So if there's any good deals to be done there, I'm sure they know about it. And I understand that Beşiktaş have hired some new scouts, so I think Ole will trust them when it comes to the other leagues.
Yeah. The names weren't mentioned in the press conference, but apparently it's going. It's not yet official. But Martin Siegbert from Bayern München and Edward Graaf from Borussia Dortmund. So two scouts with a decent resume. So hopefully they can work in tandem. But let's talk about the other big part of this coaching staff because it really feels like a star ensemble being brought in. And I told you for an article you wrote, I think for NRK, that Beşiktaş fans are a little bit like football hipsters, and many of them probably would have been even more excited if Erling Moe was the coach, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a little bit more overexposed with his time at Manchester United. Erling Moe is a little bit of an unknown, but very interesting profile. 6 years in charge as head coach of Molde, assistant for many years before that. I think Solskjaer mentioned that he was at the club for 26 years or something like that. So a very long-serving servant of that club. His contract, I guess, ended at the end of this past season. Um, Before we talk about his qualities and all and so on, for me, from the outside looking in, wasn't it a really big surprise to see Erling Moe, stop at Molde and then take an assistant job again after so many years in charge?
Uh, Actually, Erling Moe, it was very strange because this in the late summer he signed a new contract with Molde, but they got a lot of injuries at the end of the season, and they actually finished fifth in the league, which means that there will be no European football for Molde next season. That was a huge blow for them. And then after they lost the cup final in December, he got fired from Molde. That was a big surprise because Erling Moe has a huge position in Molde. I spoke with a lot of the players from Molde last year. They told me that Erling Moe is the most underrated manager in Norway. They hold him very high. So when he got fired, it was a huge surprise, and he was very loyal after the decision. He didn't make any interviews, and he still doesn't talking about it officially. But I know he's been very upset and hurt by that decision. So when the news came that Ole brings him as an assistant, it actually makes more sense than it is surprising, because Erling has always appreciated working as an assistant for Ole. They were a very good team in Molde. He doesn't care about if he's being called assistant or not. He's not about that kind of attention. So I'm sure he was quite excited about the project. So I think this this choice by Ole Gunnar is going to make Beşiktaş much better, because Erling is a very good manager who has a lot of experience, and I think always seems to be liked by his players. So he will be making a very good team with Ole Gunnar.
And of course, at Manchester United, he had the assistants, Kieran McKenna, you previously mentioned, and also Michael Carrick, who are both now head coaches in the Premier League for Ipswich and I forget the other team. But do you think that missing Erling Moe at United, was that a big miss for him? Was their relationship and their working relationship so good at Molde that that's perhaps someone he could have used at United?
Yeah, I think so. He was very happy with McKenna and Carrick, and has spoken a lot about them in a positive way. But him and Erling is almost like best mates. So I think he could have done a good job at United, but I don't think that's the reason it didn't work out like Ole Gunnar wanted. But being reunited now, it's really exciting for both of them, I guess. Ole Gunnar told me that they're looking at the houses at the same neighborhood, so they will be having a good time in Istanbul.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Erling Moe as a coach then, because, like we said, 6 years in charge of Molde, two Eliteserien titles, two Norwegian Cups, and then apparently another Lost Cup final. And of course, very many Turkish fans will remember Molde from last season when they played Galatasaray. I recently rewatched both games. I remember thinking back then, I can't believe they lost. Like, they were so much better. And then I thought, now when Erling Moe was part of the team, I'm gonna rewatch those games because maybe I had my Galatasaray hate glasses on, and it wasn't as bad as I remembered. But then I watched the game, and again I was dumbfounded. It's almost they played so well, and it was just pure individual brilliance on Galatasaray's part. But what brand of football did Erling Moe generally have his team playing? Is he a more offensive-minded coach? Is he maybe a little bit different from Ole Gunnar's philosophy? And how do you see that blending together?
I was actually in Turkey for the game you're talking about, and I remember that it was completely impossible to understand how Molde didn't win that game, because tactically everything worked. They should have won by 2-3 goals. So but that's football sometimes. But it tells you something about the potential in the teams that Erling Moe builds. In Norway, when he took over for Ole Gunnar in Molde, it wasn't really easy to notice any difference, because they are so adjusted and like-minded in how to play football. And maybe that's why they work so good together. But he's an attacking coach. He wants to control games, to be dominating, creating chances. But he likes to play with few different formations out of who is the opposition. So he's a well-respected coach with lots of experience now, and he's a very good guy to talk to. He has strong opinions on football. He has been taking a big part of the official football discussion in Norway. He's not afraid to say what he's really thinking about things. So as a journalist, it was always a pleasure to talk to him. He understands the game very well, and is a good guy who's liked by everyone.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about what you think the division of labor is going to be, because this was already talked about very briefly at the press conference. One of the questions that was asked to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was, Beşiktaş have had a big deficiency on set pieces this season. They have scored a very limited amount of goals on set pieces. Um, then they was asked about whether or not they would bring in a coach for the set pieces, to which was said that Richard Hartes actually, the goalkeeper coach, actually did that at Manchester United and always did a really good job. At their previous clubs, both for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Erling Moe, were set pieces a particularly big weapon for them? I know Norwegian football has a little bit of a stigma of being, or well, Scandinavian football in general, of that being one of their biggest weapons. I know for Bodo Glimt that is very uncharacteristically not true. But how was it at Molde? Were they strong on set pieces?
It wasn't something that was thought of as a special weapon. They were quite average. It wasn't the main focus for them. They wanted to create chances from open play. So it's not, when I think about either Ole Gunnar or Erling, it's not set pieces that comes to mind. So, but Richard Hart is maybe a specialist on that field. I don't know. But I don't think Ole Gunnar or Erling will revolutionize the set pieces, unfortunately.
Okay. And how do you see the division of labor going in the team? Now, obviously, Richard Hartes will take care of the goalkeeping, coaching, the set pieces. What do you think Erling Moe will focus on? What do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will focus on? How will that all fit together, you think?
Ole Gunnar actually told us a little bit about his plans for the training field. Ole Gunnar will be mostly an observer. He will be at the pitch, but it will be Erling who will conduct sessions. Of course, they will plan it together, but it will be Erling who does most of the coaching, and Ole Gunnar who is maybe taking a step back, looking at how things click, and making the big decisions.
So really kind of the Sir Alex Ferguson role at
Yeah,
Manchester United.
he's been influenced by Sir Alex in many ways.
Yes, of course, it makes sense, but I already had a hunch, but it's nice that you confirm it. So now we know. Okay, then finally today, the big game. We are recording this on Wednesday before the debut match against Athletic Club. Maybe a little bit unfair. Only, I think, 2 or 3 training sessions for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to get his team ready for this game. But what do you expect? It's going to be a sold out crowd, which is special because this game is taking place locally at 6:30 on a weekday. Lots of people probably had to either leave work early or just take a day off from work altogether because of UEFA's brilliant planning. But what are your expectations? What do you think we can expect to see from Beşiktaş in this short turnover period where he's had so little time with the team?
I'm looking forward to the game. It's going to be really interesting to see. I hope for his sake he doesn't start with a big loss or something. That his team that we can see a performance from Beşiktaş that he can be proud of. But it's very difficult to make a mark on a team after just a few days, like you're pointing out. But I think we will see a team that will go out and go for the win. I think it doesn't think his first game will be a defensive one. So, but it will be interesting to see. It can turn out either way. It's not an easy game. I don't think Beşiktaş are the favorites. So your expectations should be modest. But who knows? If I remember correctly, he started brilliantly in this first match in United. So. Let's hope you get a similar experience.
I think his first game at United was, if I'm not mistaken, a 1-5 away win against Cardiff, I want to say.
That sounds about right. It's a long time ago, but yes, maybe.
All right. Thank you, Egil, for your time and your great insights on our new coach. And thank you for making the time. And of course, I hope that you will enjoy watching Beşiktaş over the coming years. Let's hope it's years.
My pleasure and good luck.
And thank you all for watching this episode where we took an in-depth look at both Erling Moe and our head coach Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And we talked plenty about it, got some great insights. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share with your friends. And see you again tonight or next week or next Friday maybe for the post match on Athletic Club. I haven't decided yet whether we're gonna go live. If we win that game today and it's a great game, I think we might just go live after the game. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.